You see that? Yes, we are going to be taking this back from you, Mr. Encurion, sir. Wait a minute. Okay, what is going on here? The fires of Jalmarys are still lit as Calc betrays us, and, well, we're going to be taking it in the first part of this episode, and welcome back to our Sturgian Viking. And we're currently going in with literally just battering ram and siege towers, because I've taken a look at the composition of the garrison here, and they literally only have a significant amount of militia. And personally, for me, I feel like that is going to be a pretty doable thing indeed. As you can see, they have a bunch of people just standing here. I wonder whether I can kill someone through this. And why do I have a sword? What? Why am I using a sword right now? Did I mistakenly equip a sword? If I did, then that is very amusing. Is this actually any good? I don't know, but, well, it's been a while since I've created a weapon for myself, so it might actually make sense for me to make something new. Oh, no, that was hilarious. Did you see that? Yeah, I hope you did. I hope I cut that right, because that was fantastic. I literally threw my axe through the hole here. But get him! Yeah, there you go. Take that, sir. Yes, bear in mind, you do need to go into first person to make those kinds of things work. That's exactly the reason why I love the new and improved hitboxes in Bannerlord. They really make a huge difference to the effectiveness of these kinds of attacks. You know, thrown weapons, ranged weapons, whatever it may be. As long as the hitbox is crisp and clean, you're going to have a great time, and you're going to be able to hit through those very small little areas, and indeed hit around shields as well. It may not seem like you'd be able to hit through the shield, but you can sometimes. It really depends on if you take advantage of the hitbox, and there you go. We've gotten through already. I'm going to be switching to a two-handed axe, because I don't really want to use the sword. If I'm honest, I'd much rather use an axe of some kind. Oh, yeah, of course, the AI is going to be this annoying, isn't it? They're going to face towards me to try and prevent themselves from being killed, which is absolutely fine. You would expect them to do so on the highest level of combat difficulty. And, well, we're going to see how we do here. This should be pretty easy for us, but it really just depends on a number of factors, because obviously, as I said, they do have an overwhelming number of militia, but that's pretty much all they have, so it should be easy enough for us to deal with these guys. How many have we lost so far? We've lost 5 units from my own army, which is of course quite significant considering I do have some pretty high tier units. I have done a little bit of reshuffling in our army again as well, because I realized that maybe it would probably not be the best idea for me to do all these sieges with extremely high tier units. I know that seems counterintuitive, of course, because you want the highest tier that you can possibly get, but I kind of wanted to maybe disperse the damage being taken at least by a small margin, because otherwise I'm going to end up losing all of my high tier units and I'm not going to have any to replace them. So, you know, generally it's going to be a good idea to kind of stagger things a little bit, and if I do end up losing a lot of units, at the very least I am attempting to spread out the amount of casualties that I'm taking. But as you can see right here, we're just absolutely murdering everyone. You can see also that the Huskarls are indeed taking the full brunt of the enemy's assault. Oh, hello, yes. It seems like that is indeed the reason, because there's literally a huge amount of them here. Look at that. How dare they? How dare they? I've actually realized as well, by the way, that my frame rate in this particular siege has been absolutely fantastic. I wonder whether they've patched it again, you know, because it seems to me like I am having probably one of the best performances so far in terms of frame rate, at least, that I've seen in recent memory, because most of the time in a siege I'm gonna suffer a couple of slowdowns here and there, and I think that might be due to Batanian presence though. So it might just be that the Imperials do not give me any kind of performance or optimization problems whatsoever. Oh, there is actually a Batanian wildling on the other side here, but maybe the Britannian wildling specifically does not provide any kind of problem, but who knows? Who knows? Anyway, let's go. Get him. Oh, we actually did some 8. Alright, so we're in the marketplace at Jalmarys after taking it, and I'm just going to sell all of this stuff and literally just try to almost bankrupt the marketplace. I mean, obviously that's what we want to try and do, and you can see here that this is basically the reason why I'm having so much cash. I'm still also gaining a pretty significant amount from tributes as well, so of course that is indeed a significant contributor to that. So there you go, and I actually called for an army as well, as you can see right there. I did call for an army, and we do have a number of people that have helped us out here. And speaking of that, I'm actually going to disband the army right now because I'd like them to potentially attack these enemies, and hopefully we can indeed catch up to them. It seems like Tasler is being annoying. You see that? Look at him. Yeah, Tasler's being annoying because now he's just taken a couple of our people prisoner. That's not very nice of him, is it? No, we're going to have to hunt him down now as well. The trials and tribulations of having to deal with the Khuzait, especially considering they have so many cavalry, it really makes a huge difference to their map speed. And their map speed is going to be enormous. It's going to be so good just because of all of those cavalry units. And you know what I'm actually going to be doing here? I'm going to be taking this myself. I'm literally going to spend 100 influence just to get this myself because I've been burned before and I would like to be able to keep this myself just because I don't want to have to deal with any of that silliness. You know, I don't want any of these vassals to basically be like, okay, you know what, see ya, and, you know, wouldn't want to be ya sort of thing. And then he's going to backstab us again and again. Obviously, it was probably not the best idea for me to give such a significant fief to a newly acquired vassal that was a part of somewhere else. You know, in other words, generally I would say, and indeed recommend to those of you out there that are also playing the game, to not give any fiefs to vassals that join you. At least not to give them anything too significant. Give them a castle here or there, yes, give them a castle, that's absolutely fine, but probably not the best idea. Wow, 20% chance. Oh, alright, this guy hates my guts, apparently. Anyway, probably not a good idea to give them a town. You know, if you give them a town, then be prepared for something like I just did, something very annoying. I'm hoping for a critical success on the last one. No critical success. That's actually kind of sad. Would have been pretty cool to maybe just try to get this guy to join us. I wasn't really holding out much hope anyway, because you know how they can be. They're pretty stubborn at the best of times. So, really wasn't expecting much, but it would have been cool to try out a little bit of, a little bit of coercion here or there. But otherwise, as you can see, Jalmarys is doing fine. Oh yes, it's absolutely doing fine. And I think what I'm actually going to do now is I am going to go immediately on to, oh yeah, see now that's the thing. I wanted to continue trying to attack the Vandians, but I realized that, you know what, I kind of wanted to take revenge against Kanujan, and by taking Jalmarys, that has really helped us out quite a bit, especially with this central area right here. I know a couple of people did give me a couple of tactical, maybe strategical options, but generally, I don't really follow any kind of strategy. I know that is maybe very surprising. Who knows? Maybe it's very surprising to those of you that may think that I am some kind of strategic genius. Welcome to the channel. You've just seen me playing for the first, I don't even know how long I've been recording this so far. About first 10 minutes, I guess. But yeah, welcome. Yeah, you must be new here. Because, yes, my strategic prowess is basically limited to, yes. Yeah. You see that? You see what just happened? I am... I'm actually livid. I'm laughing, but I am actually extremely irritated. That is great. Yes. Okay, so did you see what just happened there? Yeah. This guy, let me see if I can find him. There we go. This guy right here, Incurion, Mr. Incurion with 100 relation. This is exactly the reason why having the defection overhaul mod is, in my opinion, I would say a requirement if you're going to be persuading people. And as far as I'm aware, I spent quite a lot to recruit Mr. Incurion, and he has basically every single castle because I gave it to him. That's it. He doesn't have it for any other reason apart from the fact that I was generous enough to give these pieces of land to him. And otherwise he wouldn't have had anything. And that's exactly how these vassals should be treated, in my opinion. They should be treated as throwaway vassals that are literally just going to backstab you at the first possible convenience. And in my opinion, that's kind of sad. I personally don't think that's how it should be. And thanks to those of you, by the way, in the previous comment section, in the previous episode's comment section, for providing me your thoughts on my suggestion that some vassals should get some kind of retaliation for betrayal. Because at the moment there is nothing. There's nothing that prevents a vassal from leaving and indeed taking a huge amount of your hard-earned fiefs and territory with them, as you've just no doubt witnessed before your very eyes. And that's exactly the reason why mods like Defection Overhaul are, in my opinion, necessary if you are going to be persuading vassals. It does add intrigue, of course. It absolutely adds intrigue, and it does weave a slightly more rich story. But on a gameplay level, if you're playing this not for a YouTube series and you're playing this by yourself, can you imagine how frustrating it would be to recruit someone who's like, let's just say, a tier 6 clan leader, and you spend 1 million gold on that guy and you give him 4 towns because you think to yourself, wow, I'd really love to have this guy stay with us because he's just such a fantastic, really, really strong vassal, and we really want to make him as happy as he possibly can be. And then he backstabs you and he takes all of the towns with him, either to a completely different faction, which is exactly what has happened with Mr. Incurion, because he's technically from the Southern Empire or Northern Empire, or one of the empires at the very least. Don't know which one. But let's just say that happens in your own private time. Let's say it's not even a YouTube series, Let's say the rich tapestry of storytelling that I do try to at least weave a little bit. I'm not heavily doing that for the most part, but I do try to weave a little bit of a story of, backstabbery and treachery and, some rich, glorious battles and victories and those wonderfully bitter defeats as well, because we've had a number of those already too, in a number of series. But let's say you're doing it in your private time. Would you like to see that? Would you like to see 4 of your towns get taken? Especially considering, what if you're a fledgling? What if you're a fledgling faction where this happens with your second vassal that has ever joined you, or something along those lines? Let's say that you've literally just done that and you have about 6 towns and the enemy has, the enemy, the soon-to-be enemy, should I say, has 5 towns or 4 towns or whatever amount of towns, and then he backstabs. You're not going to feel very good about that, are you? Surely not. Because, I know a bunch of people speak out against mods, and that's absolutely fine. You can definitely feel about mods however you want. But in that kind of situation, I just don't think that really makes any sense, considering the vassal has 100 relation with the player character. It doesn't really... I don't really get it. It doesn't really make any sense at all, because in the grand scheme of things, if you have a maxed out relation and you've worked together over numerous campaigns, sieges, battles, and you've gone through thick and thin with this person, Because if you're obviously role-playing a little bit, like I tend to do, then you treat them as people rather than lines of code, obviously. But, you know, let's just say that you spend huge amounts of time with that person, and then all of a sudden, with 100 relation, they're like your basically they're like your character's best friend, almost. And then all of a sudden they go, okay, you know what? I'm not going to do that anymore. And then they all of a sudden just leave and backstab you, and there you go. Obviously, real life, a little bit different than a game, of course, you know, not actually drawing any comparisons between the two, but I'm just saying. It just doesn't make sense. Whereas the Defection Overhaul mod actually does make the whole defecting thing make quite a bit of sense, because what that does, by the way, if you don't know, the extent of the changes that it makes to the game, because obviously it doesn't work anymore as far as I'm aware. I mean, obviously it doesn't work from what I can tell, because otherwise they wouldn't have defected in such a dramatic fashion. But what it does is it basically just makes it so that there's a slight limit to when vassals can defect. So if they have less than 10 relation with you, which is to be expected, because there's actually a lot of vassals in the game right now that have less than 10 relation with me. Some of them even have negative 100 relation with me. So that would be extremely difficult to hold on to those guys according to the Defection Overhaul mod. I feel like it balances the whole defection mechanic in general. And if you have more than 10, then they just have a reduced chance. If you have more than 30, then you have an extremely small chance for them to defect. And if you have more than 60 or whatever the case may be, I can't remember the values specifically right now, but those values will eventually result in them almost never being able to betray you, which is, in my opinion, rather balanced. Because in these kinds of situations, as I've said before, 100 relation vassals all of a sudden just leaving your faction, I don't know whether that really follows along the lines of the of like common sense. They just like common sense as well, because this guy just left the Vlandians, or well, should we say just joined the Vlandians and left us. And then all of a sudden, he's joined a faction that he wasn't a part of. Because I saw a comment, actually, someone said that the reason why Kanajan betrayed us is because he was rejoining his original faction. And apparently there's a certain behavior that the AI tends to have that is somewhat reminiscent of that. They generally tend to be like homing pigeons, for example. They'll basically just fly away for a certain period of time. In other words, you know, joining us in that sense, and then he'll fly back eventually. And that's exactly what happened. However, Encurion does not have that issue, because he did not join any of the empires. He joined the Vlandians. And as far as I am aware, he was basically just looking for an opportunity to do that, which is sorely disappointing. Very, very disappointing indeed. But anyway, we do have a number of vassals here. I'm very much hoping that Gersegos Castle will stay ours from now on, because I've given it to Vashorki instead. And, well, as we know, Vashorki is a little bit of a scoundrel himself, but I think that he's most likely, cross fingers, most likely going to stick with us, at least for the moment. So otherwise, we're just going to be dealing with this guy once he's dealt with these bandits. There we go, get him dead. There we are, nice. Take him down as well. I've taken so many people prisoner as well. It really beggars belief that we have so many of them taken prisoner, but the Vlandians are still able to continue fighting. It's actually kind of crazy. And we have more people joining the Crusade. A bit worried about that, actually, because you can see here, Maniolus has now joined the Crusade. And let me actually take a look at the bigger picture real quick, just to make sure that they haven't brought over any other extremely valuable fiefs. I'm wondering, what does... okay, that's actually one of our home clans, because we don't want Myzea to switch to the Crusade. Thank you very much. That would be a travesty, even more than it already has been, losing Argeron, of course, because Argeron was going to be our sort of connection to my Zaya there. And I was actually thinking next time we declared war against the Northern Empire, we were going to take Diathma, and that was going to provide us with a pretty solid trade route all throughout here. And then maybe even take Amprila or something along those lines. I know someone has suggested to take, or shall we say, to take up a conversation with Misui and try to persuade her to join us. And I'm thinking, yeah, we'll probably try to do that. But as we've so far seen, I don't know whether I can really trust the persuasion mechanic any further, because it is very much giving us these results, which I'm a little bit dubious about now. And we are going to be declaring war, apparently, against the Aserai. We have 16,500 combat strength at the moment as Sturgia, which I think is pretty good. I think that's okay. But I believe that the enemy is now starting to fight back, so we might be in a bit more of a tricky situation. You can see here the Khuzait, just from literally gaining those two towns, as I said before, they gained so much combat strength from that. And the Vlandians, they're still kind of limping along a little bit on 5,400. I'm hopeful that we will be declaring war against the Batanians relatively soon as well, because I'd like to definitely start expanding in this central area here. I know someone said that because we were jumping around a little bit and not specifically going for the Vlandians the whole time to sort of, unify this area, that it was annoying you a little bit. That I'm not entirely sure why that would be, because the Batanians should be annoying you the most, surely, because that's the faction that is a little bit bitty in this area, and it would make much more sense for us to take that and solidify and indeed consolidate that territory rather than the Vlandians, because then it's just all over the place kind of thing. I don't know. Well, maybe that's just me. Anyway, we're going to be attempting... yes, Rovolt. Yes, we are going to be taking this back from you, Mr. Encurion, sir. And I will be taking ownership over it, thank you very much, because let's face it, I really do not want a situation like this happening again, because I have to take these things once more. Wait a minute. Okay, what is going on here? What is going on here? I think I'm crazy. I think I'm going crazy right here. I think I am literally losing my mind. And it would help, actually. Oh, you know what? It would really help if I could say some stuff to you live, It would really be very helpful, because I think everyone would be probably laughing their heads off right now, because... yes, I will show you. Yeah. You see that? Godun, why do you do this to me, sir? Why do you do this to me? As you can see, he has literally left our faction and joined none other than the Khuzait, and he is absolutely testing my patience right now. At this point, I'm kind of thinking that I will literally... Oh, hello, yes. Okay, so apparently now all of the Vlandians are literally just converging on my position, and they are being extremely insufferable. Oh well. Okay. Now I'm starting to think that I should start executing every single person that I come across. You know that? I feel like I should probably start doing that. And you know what? Let me know your thoughts on that, because I'd like to hear your opinion, because in this kind of situation, especially considering every single person, no matter whether they have 100 relation or not, is basically turning their back on us. Hilariously enough, I am not the leader of the Vlandians, of course. I am not the leader of the whole faction, so that indeed probably does make a bit of a difference, because they probably have a bad relation with Mr. Vildur, and that's the reason why they're leaving the faction, not the fact that our relation is bad with them. It could just be that Vildur is the one that is causing problems. So, yeah, that's the thing. Oh, yeah, another comment actually stated that, or shall we say asked, when we're going to be taking over the Sturgian's throne. Well, that's the thing. I actually won't be able to do that, as far as I'm aware. If you go to the kingdom screen right here, and you go to diplomacy, you can see here that there's actually no usurp the throne option. That was a selection that you could only make if you had the Diplomacy Fixes mod installed. And as we found out, Diplomacy Fixes ends up crashing the game through something. I'm not entirely sure why it caused the crash, but it does. And as a result, we are not able to usurp the throne any further, which I gotta say is quite disappointing. Because I personally feel like it should be a base game option. You know, that just adds so much of your options. You know, it just gives you so many different ways of progressing in the game, and I really think it makes a huge difference to the overall feel of it as well, because right now I have no other course of action with the exception of, well, what? I can stay as a vassal, or I can create my own faction. That's basically it. I can't do anything within my own faction to advance my own ranking or standing in the world itself. With the exception of obviously just taking huge amounts of fiefs for myself, which we are already kind of doing to try and prevent the flood that is now just completely breaking down the dam that we hopefully put up with all of our relation points. But nope. That's not working whatsoever. No, it is not. Okay, so we're up against the Vlandians here. I have an extremely small shield. I think what I should do, someone suggested that I get a, what is it now, a large Sturgian round shield or something like that? Heavy Sturgian round shield or something? I'm not entirely sure what you suggested, but you suggested getting a Sturgian shield, and I think if it's bigger than this one, then I'd definitely like to do that, because I don't know whether you've noticed, but every single time I have my shield up, it doesn't matter what happens, I get shot. So it would be quite nice if I could try to prevent that from happening, because it is kind of frustrating to have your shield up and to basically be like, okay, you know, I should be pretty safe behind this thing, and then get shot in the leg or the foot or something. But yeah, let's see what happens here. I'm gonna just put these guys into shield wall formation, put these cavalry over to the side. Basically makes no difference whatsoever anyway, because there's only 11 of them. But still, they might be able to deal with the enemy's cavalry, and then we'll just move these guys up here into the enemy's ranks. They're going to be fighting uphill a little bit, which is certainly not something I really want them to do. And we're going to tell them to actually charge in. Let's tell them to charge in. Two-handed axes at the ready, and let's do this. Let's go into battle ourselves too. Let's get them all dead. There we are. Let's take them all down. Oh, come on now. Oh, do you see that combat strength bar? Do you see that combat strength bar? It is evaporating. That is basically how quick Encurion left the faction. Ah, yes. Ah, I will be getting revenge upon him and Kanujan. Do not worry about that. I am... Ooh, it grinds my gears. It grinds my gears, it does. And I am certainly going to try and make them pay as much as I possibly can. And our revenge will be exquisite when it arrives. Which it probably never will, because let's face it, for some reason, I'm never usually able to catch up to these vassals that do the whole betraying thing. Sometimes I'm able to, but most of the time they stay without showing themselves, shall we say. They are quite devious and a little bit sneaky, you know, a little bit sneaky, and it makes it very difficult for me to catch up to them. Anyway, nice, yeah, get them. Oh yeah, there we go. That is very satisfying, I've got to say, especially considering if you're in a frustrating situation like I am. Definitely helps to bring that two-handed axe down on some people. It really does help to work out a little bit of that, little bit of that frustration here and there, and you know, definitely helps Iceni to get over the whole betrayal thing. You know, hilariously enough, though, as I've said, they're not actually betraying us specifically, because we are not the liege of the faction, but they're more betraying the Sturgians and Vilder himself. So I suppose he should be more mad than I am. But we were the ones to kind of give them all of those fiefs, which now I'm kicking myself for that. Anyway, let's take all of these people prisoner, and we'll check their combat strength after this as well, because they might have lost quite a bit, but personally I don't think so. Let's take a look. Did they... What? 5,600? Didn't they have 5,600 beforehand as well? This is kind of weird. That is kind of weird. Oh, well, never mind. Okay, so let's just attack that guy. A nice auto-resolve, take him prisoner as well. And bear in mind that because the army that is currently wanting to attack us is so incredibly large, I should be able to bait out their vassals and hopefully basically just take them on a wild goose chase and get them to have their cohesion expire. You can already see here, though, that their Incurion is in this army. Oh, you have no idea how badly I want to go in here. But you can see that their army is pretty bad. They only have about 27 sharpshooters. They have a couple of knights. The Vlandian Billman, my arch nemesis, is also in there. But that's not much, you know, that's not much. So should be able to do quite well. Yeah, they lost about 800 combat strength from the loss of all those armies, which I think is pretty good. The Crusade, however, as you can see, is catching up to the Sturgians' combat strength. I'm seething right now. That's terrible. Absolutely terrible. Anyway, there's a nice overview of the map. You can see that Tile was indeed taken over to the opponent, as well as Myzea. If you enjoyed this video, then please leave a like. I appreciate it. It definitely helps me out. And otherwise, I thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you next time.